RX Smart Gear Jump Ropes, the best jump ropes in the business. Our title sponsor and such great support from them. You can get your RX Smart Gear Jump Ropes by going to rxsmartgear.com. At checkout, use Clydesdale15, all caps, and you can get 15% off your order. You can buy jump ropes of any color, shape, size. The handles, you can make those whatever you want. You can get the cable at different weights and different lengths depending on your height. So check it out at rxsmartgear.com. Use Clydesdale15 at checkout, and you'll get 15% off your order. That does exclude new additions, new arrivals, and special editions. But check that out. It's a great deal. In addition to that, they're also supporting our hashtag Road to 1,000. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Clydesdale Fitness and Friends podcast, and you have a public profile, every time we hit the century mark with subscribers, we're giving away a brand new RX Smart Gear jump rope. And Dave Newman, the owner of the company, has promised to throw in a couple extras for that winner. So make sure you go over, subscribe, and you have a public profile, and you may be our next winner. Thanks. Hey, everyone. We are here with a new friend of ours, Kristin Holte, CrossFit Legend. Just announced her retirement this year, 8-time CrossFit Games athlete, never finished lower than 17th at the games, and took the silver medal back in 2019. Kristin, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So I think that's pretty amazing. You've been to the games 8 times, never finished lower than 17th. That is such consistency. How have you kind of held up body, mind through all of that?
Yeah, to be honest, like when I first qualified in 2014, I thought it was going to be like a one-time thing that I was going to experience, because I didn't really see myself as a games athlete back then. I thought like those were just superhumans that was so much better than me, and I had no idea how to I would stack up against them. But after I was there in 2014, I saw that I was actually able to compete with the best. I didn't do too bad, and I wasn't that scared. So after that, I knew that I could be someone who could belong with the top athletes in the world. But I did struggle a lot with injuries after my first year. I think after 2015, I was basically done because I felt like it was so rough. My body did not respond after games 2015. It was a really tough year, like with injuries, with the heat, with Murph coming up. So I told myself on Saturday at the 2015 games that I would never do this again. That was it. 2 months later, I changed my mind and I was ready for 2016 again. But it's been a crazy ride. It's been a lot of injuries. But that was mostly like the first couple of years when I just went all in and didn't focus on the right things. It was all about just training more. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten smarter, and I've been doing less volume, and my body's been feeling, for the most part, really good, like the past 3 or 4 years, except from a few injuries.
So with you saying that, why is now the time to retire?
Yeah, good question. I've got a lot of people asking me that, and I've always said that I want to be able to choose when I'm done. I don't want to be forced to retire because of an injury or something like that. And I want to have a healthy body after I'm done competing. I still want to do CrossFit for the rest of my life, and I want to be able to do that without having any injuries that would set me back for a long time after my career. And also, I feel like I'm coming close to reaching my potential as an athlete. I do feel like I could have done this for a couple of more years on this level, like physically, but mentally I'm starting to get really tired. Like I feel like I'm starting to get really drained, and I feel like it's taking so much more out of me for every single competition now to like focus and get ready. And I've done this for 8 years now. I know the amount of energy and things that I have to do to get ready to perform at my absolute best. And it's really tough. Like the mental part is really tough in this sport. And that's what I feel like I'm reaching my potential. Like I don't feel like I have that much more to give. And I know with myself, if I can't put in 100% effort in everything that I do, I will never be satisfied with myself. So I feel like it's better to step down when I feel like I'm close to that. And so I don't have to go in and like regret that I didn't put in the 100% effort and I didn't stop when I was at my absolute best.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Kristin, too, that you reflected on sort of your mindset during prior games when you said like on that Saturday you were done, you know, like you weren't going to do this again. When did the thoughts of retiring sort of come to your mind? Was it something that happened over the course of the weekend, or did you know coming into it that this was something that you were considering?
I decided before I started training for this year. But I think it's really started back in February, March 2020, when I injured my back and I had a herniated disc in my back. And before that, I hadn't even, like, I wouldn't even think about what I was going to do when I retired. I could not see myself as anything other than CrossFit Kristin. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I was just in so much pain. I couldn't even think about like lifting something from the floor. Everything was hurting. And I realized that this could be taken away from me like in a blink of an eye. And I was forced to think like what I would do if it wasn't for CrossFit. So I started thinking about that, and I eventually, like, I became more and more, I accepted that one day I would not be doing this anymore. I will still be doing CrossFit, but I will not be like a professional athlete. And I think that helped me to realize that I'm not CrossFit Kristin anymore. I'm Kristin who does CrossFit, and I'm a lot more than just CrossFit Kristin. And that gave me like a good feeling that, okay, I can see myself on the other side of this career. And when I kind of made a deal with my body that if it got through that back injury, I had a hand surgery at the same time. If I got through that, I would stop before I hurt myself more. And so I thought about like 2020 being my last year, but with the online games, I just couldn't have that as my last year, because being in a live competition is just so different, and it's something that I thrive in and I just love it. So I decided after the 2020 games that I would do one more year. I would give my absolute best effort in everything I do, and then see where it takes me. And then that will be it.
So that injury to the L1S5, right? L5S1,
yeah.
L5S1. I had that same injury, and it is brutal. Like, if you've never had that, it is so painful, and it actually sent me into a very deep depression. So it gave you kind of this realization that you wanted to finish on top and kind of retire. Did you have to battle depression through that when it was so debilitating?
Yeah, I don't know if I was depressed, but like I was in a really dark hole. I couldn't like get myself out of the couch. I didn't want to do anything. I was just really sad, and I felt really, really sorry for myself. And I think the thing is that I felt like I was really strong mentally. So I thought like I would be someone who can manage this. I would not feel sorry for myself. And thinking about that, I just felt even more sorry for myself. And it just became this negative spiral that I was like, I I can't do this. I can't handle this. I can't physically move. I can't mentally handle this. I'm failing as a person. And that was really tough for me because it was like a month or two where I just kept telling myself how much I sucked and how much I couldn't do anything and how bad I was as a person. And that doesn't help at all with the pain or anything. But eventually I was able to get myself out of that. And I think it was just, I had a conversation with someone about pain and how pain works, because I felt like because I had pain in my back and my wrist wasn't healing as it should be from the surgery, I tried to do an air squat and my knee hurt. I tried to do 20 minutes of jogging and my Achilles hurt. Like everything just hurt. And I felt like I can't do anything because my body's just shutting down. And just realizing that's what happens. Your body just trying to tell you something, to tell you to slow down because this is probably coming from your back. And it's more that physically it's like mental pain too.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than feeling broken.
Yeah.
And for one of the fittest people in the world to go through that and see that you suffered through the same things that us common everyday people do is really raw. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. For me, I went from being the second fittest woman on earth, and a few months later, I couldn't get out of the bed in the morning, and that's a big fall. That was a super such a big change for me, and I felt I was just falling and falling and falling, and I couldn't hold on to anything, and it was tough. So before that, I was I heard people had back pain. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't understand it. But after that, I'm I have so much respect for people with back pain because it's the worst.
Yeah. And at the same time, you had a carpal tunnel surgery, which was your second one. Did that come from CrossFit activity, like the repetitive movement of CrossFit?
They don't really know, and I don't know either. I've had it on both my hands now, and both surgeries has been successful. So probably it's probably with the movements, but also my joints or my wrists are not made for a lot of front rack things or something like that, because I had to take away a lot of handstand walking, a lot of cleans, a lot of shoulder to overheads, etc., because that would make it worse. But still, I got it, and it came back several times. So eventually I just had to do the surgery, and I don't really know why it came, but it came after I started CrossFit, so it has something to do with it, probably.
And so you fought through all of that and still came in 6th in 2020, only 2 points out of making that final cut to go to the ranch.
Yeah.
That may be more amazing than your second place finish.
Yeah. I actually do think these last 2 years, it's better performances than my second place in 2019, because of the injuries, because of the workouts and the movements that has been up. And in 2019, it was perfect for me. The workouts were really great for me. And compared to this year, it's a lot of workouts were good for me, but a lot of workouts involved heavier weights that are not too good for me. So I feel this 4th place was a better performance by myself compared to my second place finish.
So back to your retirement, just real quick. In 2020, you were quoted as saying that the off season gets very boring for you when you don't have that competition. So how are you going to combat that boredom now that you're retired?
Well, I'm not fully retired yet. I'm going to do a few competitions this fall, and then from early 2022, I'll be done. But I felt I didn't want to just do like that one live competition as CrossFit Games and then just be done. I needed to like do that. I knew that I was going to retire after this season, but I needed like a few competitions, just like smooth it out so I can actually enjoy the atmosphere of live competition. So hopefully this fall will like give me enough adrenaline to keep me going for next year. But yeah, I definitely need to find something else to spend my energy and focus on. And I'm definitely going to be a part of CrossFit one way or the other. I really want to help other athletes reach their potential, especially with like the mental aspect of it, because I've experienced how much that can affect your performance. Like if it wasn't for mental training, I would never be where I am today. I can say that with 100% certainty. I know that like physically, I'm not as gifted as a lot of other athletes, but I always perform my absolute best when it really matters. And I think that's come down to the mental part. And I think if especially younger athletes can find that and start doing that earlier, I think they can reach their potential sooner, and also maybe like go in even further than that. So hopefully I'll do some kind of coaching in one way or the other.
So it's like you've read way ahead in my notes. I know you have some programming and coaching that you're launching, I think November 2nd?
That was last year. Yeah.
Oh, last year.
Yes.
Year. And I did notice that like when you list what is involved with that, the first thing you list is mindset.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I have started Kreiger training with my coach. So it's basically my program, and that's what I do. It's like the first thing I do when I wake up, is I write down things that I'm grateful for, and I write down my goals for the day. And it's just like, it takes 5 minutes, but it can have such a big impact on your day. So I think it's really important to get that in and do it and make it a habit. So that's why we're like very strict about, we want everyone to do that. They don't have to write it in the program, but just think about it or tell yourself. So you do it in one way or the other.
At what point in your career did you know that this was an important aspect that you really had to address?
I started working with my mental coach before my first regional, actually in 2013. So I've done it since I started CrossFit. And the reason why I started it was because it was 8 weeks before a big competition in the fall in 2013, when I had a punctured lung because of an acupuncture needle. And
Whoa. Hold on. Say that again.
Yeah.
You had a punctured lung from an acupuncture needle.
Yes.
Where were you getting acupuncture? On your rib cage?
Yes, it was like here.
Oh.
So yeah, that's
scary.
That was a little traumatic. Up until then, my training has been really good. I was really looking forward to this competition that was called Battle of London. It was going to be in like January 2014. It was going to be me. It was going to be the games champ, Sam Briggs. She was going to compete in that competition too. So I was super excited. This was before I'd been to the games. So I was super excited about that. And then this happened, and I couldn't do anything like physical training for 3 weeks. I couldn't get my heart rate up at all. So I was crying. I was so mad. I was so sad. But eventually, after a couple of days feeling sorry for myself, I called my mental coach, and he was like, okay, what can you do? And I was like, what can I do? And the answer was I can do a lot of mental training. I can read mental training books. I can get really good at the mental part, even though I cannot do physical training for like 3 weeks. And I knew that I would not be in my best shape for this competition that was just 8 weeks away. But I knew that if my mental game was on top, I could still be in the game. And long story short, I ended up winning that competition. And that's when I realized, like, wow, this mental training thing is really working. And I feel like I can do magic with it. So that's when I like started to really focus on it. And then I ended up qualifying for the games that same year. And that was when we're like, yeah, this thing is working. We still worked so much since then. There's always so much to learn with the mental aspect of CrossFit. But that was when it really started, and I realized that it can have a big impact on my performance.
So my first question is, did you ever get acupuncture again?
Oh, I'm very strict. Like if I go to someone who does needling, it must be something that I really trust with my life, or I make them promise that they will not puncture my lung.
That's insane.
But it's scary. Yeah.
Was that so? Sorry, I'm fixated on this now. Was it something that happened instantly? Like while you were lying there, you were like, oh, I can't breathe? Or was it something that happened like the next day after you had gotten treatment?
No, I didn't feel anything at the time. It was more the day after. I felt like walking up the stairs, I felt like I was breathing harder than usual. And I had pain like in my back that was kind of weird in one spot. I went to training the next day and I was gonna do some rowing, and I could feel like it felt like I had water in my lungs. I can almost hear that it was water, and I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. So I got an x-ray, and then the doctor just laughed at me. He was like, no, it's definitely not a punctured lung. And then he saw the pictures and it was like, oh, yes, you do. Straight to the ER for 2 days with a tube in my chest. It's not like, at that time, that was really traumatic. And it was like, it felt like my life fell apart. But I mean, it was like 3 weeks without training. And now like, I'm just so happy that that happened to me, because it made me realize that I don't need to do more physical training. It's the mental aspect that is the biggest key, especially for me.
Yeah, and we've known since CrossFit started, right, that sort of the biggest battles are between the ears, like Greg Glassman has said. And it's interesting that you started on that mindset journey so early, because it seems to be in the last couple of years to be the new big, exciting, trendy thing to talk about. So I think it's really cool that, you know, you started it sort of right from the get-go. That's super interesting. I still can't get over that story though. A chest tube? Like you had a chest tube.
Yeah.
You have like a scar on your rib cage from a chest tube.
Yes.
That is insane.
Yeah. Wow. At one point I thought I was going to die, but it's probably very dramatic.
Well, you were such a healthy person. It's probably not a big deal, but wow. Who thought acupuncture could be so dangerous?
Well, I'm fascinated by the mental aspect of things. As I'm going through a mental journey of my own, just in life, like how much it's improved my life. So I want to ask you this, like on an important scale, physical, mental, where do you put the dial, like between 1 and 10? Is mental 5? Is it 4? Where would you put it?
Oh, that's hard, but I would have it a lot higher than that, because this year, like at games this year, I noticed that like it's not about my physical game. Like, I know I'm physical capable of doing a lot of the things that the other athletes are, but am I willing to do it? Like, am I willing to go there? Am I willing to push as hard as I know that I need to, and I know that I can? That's the question. Like, you need to put in every single percentage of your energy you have into that single event if you're going to be like top 3 in event. It requires so much. Like, yes, you need to have the physical abilities, but all the athletes at games have really good physical abilities. So about who's going to be the best or not, I think that's between the ears.
Yeah,
so
that's interesting. I do think, I mean, I disagree a little bit with everyone at the games has a physical ability, because there are definitely some people that can point to at the end of their weekend that they got stuck on things that they just didn't train or they weren't good at. But I think you make a good point in that there's 2 different kinds of athletes at the games. There's the athletes, the perennial podium winner, top 10 folks like yourself that have that prerequisite strength experience and breadth of, variety to podium at any given time. But you're right, it's that mental difference of who's going to show up and like go to that place and be willing to, what they say, die for points, right? Are you willing to die for points? I never really thought of it that way, but that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, and it's not about like what you can do in training in your home gym. It's about what you can do out on the floor when it really matters, when the pressure is on, when the people are looking at you, when all eyes are on you. Like, can you perform your absolute best at that time? And that's when I think the best of the best are different from the next best.
Yeah.
And you obviously were able to do that, as your results were so much better in person than on the online competitions. And I see why you would want to end your career in an in-person competition.
Yeah, it's so much more fun. When they started doing the online competitions last year, I hated it from the beginning. This is not why I do CrossFit. It's just so different. But after a year, I've learned to like it better, because I realized that this could be the future. You never know when COVID is over. So I started to focus more about okay, how can I enjoy this more? And at semifinals this year, I actually had a lot of fun doing the events. But nothing can compare to a live competition with the audience, with the people, with the fans around, just making a whole lot of level of great atmosphere.
Yeah. So my last mental question is, you say you want to dive into this a little more and help other athletes. Are you looking to put together a program that's available online, or more one-on-one training?
You know what? I have thought about both of them. I'm going to actually start doing, I'm going to study some sports psychology for the next couple of years, because I want to have a little more knowledge about the background for why the things that I've been doing for the past 8 years is actually working. And my mental coach, he got the knowledge. He's doing his PhD now, but I also want some more knowledge. And so I can actually tell people this is probably going to work because of that and that, not just because I did it. So I think I want to try to do both, maybe work on something to create a program, but I also want to do one-on-one coaching. I think that's it's just more special, and you can create a bond between the athlete that you're coaching. And I think it's a lot about communication and how you work together as an athlete and a coach. I think that's more important than how much knowledge that I have. If you have that good bond between each other, I think it will work no matter what.
Kristin, who is your mental coach?
His name is Kristin Holte.
Okay.
From
Does
Norway.
He work with other CrossFit athletes, or just athletes in general, or no one?
No.
Just you?
mostly been working with me. He's been in the military for like 20 years, and still is working in the military. And now he's doing his PhD in coaching. So he taught me so much. But the most important thing that he does when we're working together is he find a way to make me come up with the solutions. He never tell me what to do. We just discuss things and he asks questions so that I can actually tell myself what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you have to work it out. Charlie, I cut you off. I'm sorry, bud.
No, that's fine. So there was the team in your gym. I think it was Oslo, correct?
Yep.
Were you able to use any of those practices working alongside them, or did they ask you for any kind of advice, you know, being that you were the kind of the veteran there?
Yeah, I've been training a lot with them for the past couple of years. So they don't have the luxury that I've had with, I can train during daytime. They have full-time jobs, all of them. But we have been training together for a lot of sessions, and I hope that they'll learn something from me. I try to tell them, like, we do focus a lot on the mental aspect, and I do try to be aware of, like, okay, how can I improve their performances? How can I make them think about things that I know that it has been working for me? So I kind of ask them questions, and we talk about the workouts before we start, and then we also evaluate after, like, what went well, what could have done better.
And for our listeners, the affiliate team that Kristin is associated with, they podiumed at the CrossFit Games this year. They took second place. And so what were your feelings at that time for them? How good did it feel to see them up on the podium?
That was amazing. I was crying before the last event for several reasons, but one of them was they took second, they got on the podium, and I knew that they, like, physically they were able, they're very gifted athletes, they're really talented athletes. They haven't done that much work together as a team, but I knew that if everything went well, like with the weather, with like hydration, with everything around, with the mental game, I knew that they would be able to get on the podium. But I think it was on either the first or the second day, they actually said out loud that they will be the first European team on the podium, and to be able to back that out in the end of the weekend, that's really cool, and I'm really proud of them. And
Norway really represented at the CrossFit Games with you and Jacqueline and the Team Oslo. Pretty awesome. Yeah,
our team too from Bergen, Limitless. So it's really cool. Norway's coming. Just watch out. Years.
About to take over Iceland.
Yeah. So speaking of the games, this past games, do you have sort of a favorite moment from the games from your experience?
I have several, but I think probably finishing third in the clean ladder event, the first one, and also finishing the second clean ladder. That weight I have not been able to clean that for several years in a competition, and it's just below my PR. So I was super happy that I was actually able to do that. And finally, I'm not crushed by those heavy weights. I can actually do them and perform pretty well, even though a workout involves heavy weights.
So was that performance then? We talked about sort of the physical capabilities versus the mental aspect. Was that performance sort of a nice blend of the two? Because it sounds like you knew going into it was pretty heavy. So there could be that doubt of, like, physically, I might not be able to do this. How did you sort of weigh those two things going into it?
If it was just the cleans, I would probably be a little more hesitant, but I knew that with the running, I just love running, and that gives me confidence. And I also have done a lot of like clean ladder style workouts. So I was pretty confident that I would be able to clean that last event, last bar. And I went into that event and I was like, I can do this. I told myself, I'm strong. I am prepared for this and I can do this. And I did. So that was a good feeling.
Sure did. Yeah. Did you have any sort of pals around the weekend, like girls that you hang out with? We hear a lot about, you know, some little groups here and there of women that sort of hang out. Who's your crew behind the scenes?
Me and Christy Ermo O'Connell, she's a really good friend of mine, and we just have so much fun in the back. We discuss the workout, we discuss strategy. We're pretty similar athletes, so I feel like we make each other better, and that's a really good feeling. You know that I really want her to perform well, and I think she wants me to perform well too. And that's a good feeling, to feel like you have a good friend out there that really backs you up no matter what.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. I
Sounds
actually go to her gym.
You are? Wow, you're lucky. Yeah.
You guys should put a team together.
Yeah, right.
That would be fun.
What's the relationship like between you and Jacqueline? I know she's training in Mallorca now, but by all standards, you're sort of passing the torch along, you know, in terms of representation from your country, that she will most likely be, you know, that person sort of representing going forward. Do you guys have any kind of relationship?
We don't, like, I know her and I talk to her if I see her, but she's been living in Spain for several years now.
Okay.
So I don't see her or hang out with her that much at all. But I followed her, and like I know that she's gonna do well in the future too. And there's also several other athletes that are coming up, younger athletes from Norway who are doing really well. Like, so I'm really excited to see the future of CrossFit in Norway. And I think hopefully I've led the way a little bit for them, and they have seen that it's possible for us Norwegians to be on the podium and be among the top in the world. And hopefully that will give them confidence too, that they can do it as well.
Yeah. Can you name names? Can you give us some people that we should look out for?
Yeah, you have Jacqueline, and then you have Matilda Garnes, who was in the Last Chance qualifier this year. And Andrea Solberg, she was at Games last year.
Yep. I didn't realize she was from Norway. So
awesome. Yeah, so yeah, and I think also there's even younger athletes coming up. So but I think those three, you're gonna see a lot to those three in the future. So I'm excited to follow their journey.
So you said you had a couple competitions to do this fall, and I saw that you posted yesterday that you're going to be going to Rogue, and that you're going to do the Nationals and Worlds for the Functional Fitness Championship.
Yep.
Can you explain to our listeners the difference between CrossFit and what the Functional Fitness kind of league is?
Yeah. So it's a lot of the same movements with CrossFit and functional fitness. Functional fitness is always 6 workouts where you have like endurance, you have body weight, you have skill, you have strength, power, and mixed. I think that's the 6. So the movements in there differ like every time, but you always have those 6 workouts within a weekend.
There's some standardization as opposed to a mad scientist creating workouts for everybody.
Yeah. So that's the biggest difference in like in a competition setting.
And the Nationals is to find out who represents Norway in that competition?
Yes, and I won it was a Continental Cup last year. That was kind of instead of the World Championship, and I won that last year, so I already have a wild card for the World Championship. So that's why I know I'm gonna compete there.
Okay,
for sure.
And then with Rogue, are you excited to come back to the States and do the Rogue in person this year?
I am. That was such a great experience in 2019. Hopefully everything works out with the travel, but I think that will be a really good way of ending like the competition with the other girls. I have one more shot at trying to perform well against them, and it's just always a good time to be on the competition floor with Tia and all the other girls. So I'm really excited about that.
It just came out that Rogue is actually giving travel stipends to the athletes. And how first class is that? Like, it just seems like they go above and beyond all of the other competitions.
Yeah, you feel like a superstar because they really want you there, and they're doing everything they can to get you there, and help you to get there. So it's an honor to be invited and to be able to do competitions like that, for sure.
Yeah. So let's reminisce a little bit and talk about your career. So of all of your 8 games experiences, regionals, all of that, what are a couple key highlights from that career?
Oh, good questions. I have to choose. I must say, like, the first thing that comes into my mind is like the first year when I actually qualified from regionals 2014 in a really stacked field of athletes, and also going to games and winning one event, the 333. That was kind of the start for me, and the first event that I was able to show them what I can do. After that, it's been, I must say, regionals 2016 with the snatch ladder, because that's just always been like a weakness for me, and it's been something that could have held me back from qualifying for the games. And that was like the first event that year, and that I knew that was either gonna make it or break it in that event. And I ended up PRing my snatch twice, and I finished the ladder, and that was just, I was super happy about that, and that it was a big win for me, even though I didn't win the workout. And so it's things like that, with like being able to PR lifts when it really matters, because that's not something that I'm great at. And I'm more proud of that than I am of winning events that I knew that I should be doing well at.
Stuff that's in your wheelhouse. Yeah. Do you have a preference, Carson or Madison?
I do like Madison better, because of the city is smaller. It doesn't take, you don't have to sit in traffic for like 30 every time you're going somewhere. And the weather, it's just more, I feel like it's more fair in Madison for everyone. It was too hot in Carson, especially a couple of years. And you needed to be like in California for several weeks to be ready to compete in the heat. And I think that's a little bit better in Madison. And I just like that we can actually be inside and outside instead of all outside, also because of the weather part and the climate. So I think Madison is a great place to be.
And then what is the one workout that you'd like to have another shot at, that maybe you did and you didn't do as well as you thought you should have, and you'd like to go back in time and do it one more time?
The last workout this year.
Okay.
And also the last workout of 2020 first stage, with the GHDs and the cleans.
So talk us through the last event and explain sort of why you answered that way.
This year,
this was the rowing 90 chest to bar and the march, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just I felt like I kind of given up before we started. That I talked about, like the mental part, there was just not more, I didn't have more mental energy in me. I felt like I was kind of already done. And that's not a great feeling to have. Like I feel like I did a good job, but I felt like I could have taken a chance and went harder on the row, maybe try to push the chest to bar a little bit more. And I regret a little bit not doing that, and that's just not a feeling that I like to have. But I think it was mostly like the mental part, that I was just tired mentally.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any fears about, do you think maybe you were holding back from maybe not getting hurt? Was that ever a thought in your head, or no?
I don't think so. I don't know what it was. I think I also wanted to have a good feeling. I wanted to kind of enjoy it. I knew it was going to be my last event in the Coliseum. But it's hard to enjoy it while you're in it. You're 100% focused, like in tunnel vision. Yeah, I wish I could have done it again. Maybe I've done it the same way. I don't know. It's hard to say, but I wish I could have done it one more time.
So on the other side of that, when you first started in your CrossFit journey, what do you remember the workout that crushed you, but you still at the same time were like, man, I love this. I can't wait to get back and do some things again?
Yeah, that was probably the first workout I actually did at a CrossFit gym was Fran. Yeah, that was my first workout ever, and I finished around 5 minutes with strict pull-ups.
Oh my gosh.
Never done a thruster, but I just loved it. It was, and that was. I still remember that feeling after that first.
So Scott Panchik had, sort of a different experience than you at the games, when by announcing it sort of ahead of time, he sort of knew through the whole event. We were on the sidelines watching. We could see many, many opportunities that he took to sort of look around, soak it in, take his time, really enjoy. Do you think we'll get to see that from you at Rogue? Like a more relaxed, Kristin, where you're sort of soaking it up? Or are you still going to be sort of gunning for competition?
I want to say yes, but I don't think I will.
At least you're honest.
If I'm in it to win it. Like, it's 100% focus on performance, and I want to perform as well as I can. But with that being said, like, I am allowed to enjoy it too, but I will have the focus that I need to do my absolute best. And then hopefully I have a few percentages left to soak it in.
So you couldn't have gotten this far without a great support group. And who have you had in your corner through this whole 8 years?
Oh, that's dangerous to name drop, because there's so many people that has been a part of this journey, and I know that I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Team Holte, that's been supporting me from day one, and coaches and mental coaches and body workers, family, friends, my boyfriend, and all the people at my gym that supported me since day one, and also at CrossFit Invictus, that I've been my second family since day one too. So many people, and my sponsors, Reebok, that has been with me since before I qualified for the games, and it's a good feeling when knowing they support you through everything. They don't support you just because you're performing well. They support you because you're Kristin and the person I am, and that makes me loved, and that makes me happy that my sponsors and the I've been with through my career, I feel like they've all been like that, and that's a really good feeling, that it focuses on the person and not only the athletes.
And so are you still actively doing, is it Kreiger programming?
Yeah, Kreiger training. I do. Yeah. So I do, it's basically my program that we put out for other than wants to compete too. So I'm still doing that. And I will probably do a lot of it also after I retire, but maybe not 2 sessions a day. It will probably just be 1 session a day.
And I looked this up, but what does Kreiger mean?
Kreiger in English is warrior. And to me, it reminds me that I'm a person who never give up and beyond all obstacle managed to be successful. And I also like sometimes I write Kreiger on my hand or I make sure I see it if I struggle, because it reminds me of a warrior, of a Kreiger that is out on the battlefield, and his goal is to get from A to B as fast as possible, and nothing can stop him from doing that. And there will be setbacks, there will be obstacles, but he always managed to push through it and get onto over the finish line and get the job done.
I don't think there's a more appropriate word for you and your career than that.
Thank you.
Well, Kristin, this has been a blast. I've had so much fun. It became so conversational, I barely used my notes. And that's what I love about this. Thank you so much for being so raw, open, and honest. I feel like we got to know you so much better today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's been great. We'll see you at Rogue.
Yeah, see you at Rogue.
Yes, that'll be fun.
Whoa.